Hey adventurers, ever wondered what you should eat if you find yourself lost in the woods? Out here, survival is about using what you've got, and that includes knowing what nature provides. We're about to dive deep into the heart of the wilderness and uncover the top 10 life-saving foods you can find in the wild. So strap yourselves in, get ready for an adventure, and let's discover how to survive and thrive in the wild. Berries! They're like nature's little bursts of energy scattered throughout the wilderness. Packed with vitamins and antioxidants, they can provide that much-needed sugar rush when you're running on empty. But remember, not all berries are created equal. Some can be toxic, even deadly. Look for vibrant colors like reds and blues, a good sign of ripeness and safety. Avoid white and yellow berries, they can be dangerous. A good rule of thumb, if you see birds feasting on them, they're likely safe for humans too. Birds and humans have different digestive systems, so just because a bird can eat it doesn't mean you definitely can. Always double-check with a field guide if you're unsure. When in doubt, remember the universal edibility test. Rub a bit on your skin, then your lips, and wait. If there's no reaction after a few hours, try a small amount. It's always better to be safe than sorry in the wild. So, keep your eyes peeled for these natural energy bombs, but choose wisely. Nuts are nutritional powerhouses, packed with fats, protein, and essential nutrients. They're like nature's survival packs, ready to fuel your adventures. Look for nuts like acorns, walnuts, and hickory nuts. They're relatively easy to find and can be eaten raw or roasted for a more palatable taste. Acorns, for instance, are abundant and can be leached to remove tannins, making them safer to eat. Simply crush them up, soak them in water for a few hours, changing the water regularly, and then roast them until they're dry and crunchy. Walnuts and hickory nuts, on the other hand, can be cracked open with a rock and enjoyed as a quick snack. They provide a good dose of energy and essential fats to keep you going. Remember, preparation is key when it comes to nuts. Some might require shelling or even cooking to make them safe and easier to digest. But with a little effort, these crunchy treats can be your lifeline in the wild. Rivers and lakes are teeming with life, and fish are a fantastic source of protein and omega-3 fatty acids. Catching them might seem daunting, but with a bit of ingenuity, you can land yourself a meal fit for a survivor. Improvise a fishing rod using a branch, some string or vine, and a makeshift hook. Look for insects or worms to use as bait. Fish are attracted to movement, so try to mimic the movement of prey with your bait. Once you've caught your fish, it's important to gut it and cook it thoroughly to eliminate any parasites. You can grill it over an open fire, bake it in clay, or even smoke it for preservation. Remember, always be mindful of your surroundings when fishing. Be aware of slippery rocks, swift currents, and potential hazards in the water. Safety first, always. With a bit of patience and resourcefulness, you can reel in a nutritious meal and boost your chances of survival. The forest floor is teeming with edible plants, each with its unique flavor and nutritional value. Learning to identify them can be the difference between starvation and survival. Look for plants like dandelion, plantain, and chickweed. They're common, easy to identify, and can be eaten raw or cooked. Dandelion leaves, for instance, are a great source of vitamins A and C. They have a slightly bitter taste but can be added to salads or sautéed with other greens. Plantain leaves, on the other hand, are best when young and tender. They have a mild flavor and can be eaten raw, added to soups, or even used as a poultice for minor wounds. Chickweed, with its delicate leaves and small white flowers, is another nutritious option. It has a slightly sweet and grassy flavor and can be eaten raw or cooked. Remember, always double-check your plant identification before consuming anything. Use a field guide, cross-reference with multiple sources, and when in doubt, err on the side of caution. I know insects might not sound appetizing, but they're a fantastic source of protein and essential nutrients. They're abundant, easy to catch, and can be a lifesaver in a survival situation. Look for insects like crickets, grasshoppers, and ants. They're relatively easy to find and can be eaten raw, roasted, or even ground into a powder to add to other foods. Crickets, for instance, are a great source of protein and iron. They have a slightly nutty flavor and can be roasted over an open fire for a crunchy snack. Grasshoppers are another good option. They're relatively large and easy to catch, and their legs can be removed before eating for a less crunchy texture. Ants, while small, can be collected in large numbers and provide a surprising amount of protein and energy. They have a slightly sour taste but can be added to other foods for a nutritional boost. Remember, always cook insects thoroughly to kill any parasites or bacteria. And as with any wild food, start with a small amount to see how your body reacts. Mushrooms can be a real wild card. Some are incredibly delicious and nutritious, while others can be deadly poisonous. It's crucial to know what you're doing before adding any fungi to your diet. Look for mushrooms that grow on deadwood like oyster mushrooms or shiitake mushrooms. These are generally safe to eat and have a delicious, earthy flavor. Avoid mushrooms with red caps or stems, white gills, or a ring around the stem. These are often poisonous and should be avoided at all costs. If you're unsure about a mushroom, it's always best to err on the side of caution and leave it alone. There are plenty of other edible plants and fungi in the forest that won't send you on a one-way trip to the hospital. Remember, mushroom identification is a serious business. Use a field guide, cross-reference with multiple sources, and when in doubt, don't take the risk. Beneath the forest floor lies a hidden bounty of sustenance roots and tubers. These underground powerhouses are packed with carbohydrates and energy, providing that much-needed fuel to keep you going. Look for plants like cattail, burdock, and arrowhead. Their roots and tubers can be eaten raw, roasted, boiled, or even ground into flour. Cattail roots, for instance, are a fantastic source of starch. They can be roasted or boiled until tender and have a slightly sweet and nutty flavor. Burdock roots with their long tap roots are another excellent source of carbohydrates. They can be eaten raw, roasted, or boiled, and have a slightly bitter but earthy flavor. Arrowhead tubers found in shallow water are also edible and nutritious. They can be boiled or roasted and have a taste similar to potatoes. Remember, always wash roots and tubers thoroughly before eating to remove any dirt or debris. And as with any wild food, start with a small amount to see how your body reacts. Eggs are a fantastic source of protein and essential nutrients, and you can find them in the wild if you know where to look. Birds' nests, turtle nests, and even some insect eggs can provide a much-needed protein boost. Look for birds' nests in trees, bushes, or even on the ground. Be careful not to disturb the nest or the eggs, as this could harm the birds. If you do find eggs, make sure they're fresh before consuming them. Turtle eggs, often laid in sandy areas near water, can also be a good source of protein. However, it's important to note that many turtle species are endangered, so it's best to avoid taking their eggs unless absolutely necessary for survival. Some insect eggs, like those of ants or grasshoppers, can also be eaten. However, they're often small and tedious to collect, so they're not the most efficient source of protein. Remember, always cook eggs thoroughly to kill any bacteria or parasites. And as with any wild food, start with a small amount to see how your body reacts. In a survival situation, small game can be a valuable source of protein and sustenance. Rabbits, squirrels, and birds can provide a much-needed calorie boost when other food sources are scarce. Trapping is often more effective than hunting, as it requires less energy and can be done passively. Set snares or traps along game trails or near burrows, using natural materials like branches, vines, and rocks. If you're hunting with a weapon, make sure you have the skills and knowledge to do so safely and ethically. Always aim for a clean kill to minimize suffering. Once you've caught your prey, it's essential to field dress it properly to prevent spoilage. Remove the entrails, skin, and any feathers or fur before cooking. Remember, always cook wild game thoroughly to kill any parasites or bacteria. And as with any wild food, start with a small amount to see how your body reacts. Tree bark might not be the most appetizing food source, but it can provide essential nutrients and calories in a pinch. The inner bark of certain trees like pine, birch, and willow contains carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. To harvest the inner bark, carefully peel away the outer bark using a knife or sharp rock. The inner bark will be soft and pliable. You can eat it raw, but it's often more palatable when cooked. Pine bark can be roasted over an open fire until crispy, creating a crunchy snack that's surprisingly tasty. Birch bark can be boiled to make a tea that's rich in vitamin C. Willow bark can be chewed on to relieve pain, as it contains salicin, a natural pain reliever. Remember, not all tree bark is edible. Some can be toxic or even deadly. It's crucial to identify the tree correctly before consuming any part of it. While tree bark should be considered a last resort food source, it's a good survival skill to know in case you find yourself in a desperate situation. There you have it, folks. The top 10 life-saving foods to eat if you ever find yourself lost in the woods. Remember, knowledge is power in the wilderness. Familiarize yourself with these natural resources, and you'll be well equipped to survive and thrive in the great outdoors. Stay safe, stay prepared, and happy adventuring.